For more than 2.5 centuries, a single Spanish galleon would set sail each year from Manila to Acapulco, forging a vital link between Asia's abundant riches and the Americas' vast reserves of silver. This annual voyage was not just a feat of navigation, it was the lifeblood of a global network, carrying silk, spices, porcelain, and precious metals across the Pacific Ocean. In this way, the Philippines emerged as the unlikely epicenter of the world's very first global economy, connecting continents and cultures in ways never seen before. These islands, often dismissed as remote or peripheral, have in fact always been central to the ambitions of empires and superpowers, thanks to their strategic location at the crossroads of East and West. From the moment Magellan arrived in 1521, the archipelago became a coveted prize. First for Spain, who saw it as a gateway to the riches of Asia and a foothold in the Pacific, then for the United States, which transformed the islands into a crucial Pacific outpost, projecting power across the region. Later, during World War II, Japan seized the Philippines as a wartime stronghold, recognizing its value in controlling the Pacific theater. Today, the Philippines' proximity to the contested South China Sea ensures it remains at the very heart of 21st century geopolitics, a region where global interests collide and major powers compete for influence. This strategic location draws renewed and intense interest from both the United States and China, each seeking to secure their own interests in the region. The enduring legacy of the Philippines' strategic importance continues to shape the nation's present and its future, influencing everything from defense policies to economic partnerships. In this series, we'll explore why the Philippines has been so persistently valued by Spain, the United States, Japan, and now by global powers, through its unique geography, abundant resources, and critical military advantages. This is the story of how more than 7,000 islands became a nexus of imperial ambition, a crossroads of cultures, and a critical piece on the ever-shifting global chessboard. The Philippines' true value to Spain was its location as a commercial crossroads, a vital link between the East and the West. Nestled in the heart of Southeast Asia, the archipelago was perfectly positioned to connect distant empires and facilitate the flow of goods, ideas, and cultures across continents. It wasn't the island's own gold or spices that drew the Spanish, but rather their strategic placement along ancient maritime trade routes. The Philippines became the meeting point for merchants seeking treasures from all corners of Asia. For 250 years, the legendary Manila-Acapulco galleon trade funneled Asian luxury goods, silks, porcelain, and spices, across the vast Pacific to the Americas, forging one of the earliest truly global trading systems. In return, American silver flowed back to Asia, enriching the Spanish crown and fueling commerce throughout the region. This exchange made Spain a dominant economic force for centuries. Manila transformed into a bustling global port city, where merchants from China, Japan, Mexico, and Europe mingled, traded, and built a vibrant cosmopolitan community. Spain didn't need to conquer China. Instead, the Philippines served as a safe, fortified collection point for this lucrative exchange, protected by imposing walls and Spanish garrisons. The islands were the indispensable middleman in a vast global trade network, their harbors alive with the constant movement of ships and goods. When the galleon trade ended in 1815, Spain shifted its focus to exploiting the island's rich agricultural potential, cultivating crops like sugar, tobacco, and abaca for export. But the lesson was clear. Geography was the Philippines' greatest asset, shaping its destiny and drawing the attention of powerful nations. This role as a global connector would soon attract the next superpower at the turn of the 20th century, as the United States recognized the island's immense strategic and economic value. The Philippines' position had already cemented its importance in the minds of imperial strategists, who saw it as the key to controlling trade and influence in the Asia-Pacific. Its legacy as a trade nexus would echo through every era that followed, shaping not only its own history, but the fate of empires and the course of global commerce. Beyond its location, the Philippines' natural wealth soon drew colonial interest. Fertile soil and abundant rainfall made it ideal for cash crops, sugar, abaca, and tobacco, feeding global markets and enriching colonial elites. The archipelago's mineral riches, from gold to chromite, became vital for industrial powers, especially after the Americans introduced modern mining. Timber from vast forests fueled shipbuilding and construction. This bounty made the Philippines a treasure trove for colonizers, but also left its economy dependent on raw exports and vulnerable to global price swings. Resource extraction often came at the expense of sustainable development, leading to deforestation and environmental damage. For empires, the calculation was simple. Control of the Philippines meant access to the raw materials their industries demanded. The island's natural resources were as strategic as their location. The Philippines became both a breadbasket and a mine for distant powers. When the United States acquired the Philippines in 1898, it marked a turning point in American foreign policy. The islands were not just seen as distant territories, but as a crucial commercial and strategic springboard into Asia. For many American leaders, the Philippines represented a gateway to the vast and lucrative markets of the East, and a foothold from which to expand influence across the Pacific. American policymakers envisioned Manila as a bustling hub for penetrating China's markets and competing with established European colonial powers. The hope was that from this new outpost, the U.S. could secure a share of Asia's wealth and resources, and establish itself as a dominant player in global trade. This ambition was cloaked in the language of civilizing and uplifting the Filipino people. American officials spoke of bringing progress, education, and democracy to the islands. Yet, beneath these lofty ideals, the true motives were power, profit, and the desire to rival other empires. To cement their control, the U.S. invested heavily in infrastructure, building roads, railways, and ports that would tie the islands more closely to the American economy. These projects were designed not only to modernize the Philippines, but also to facilitate the movement of goods, troops, and resources. Influential strategists like Alfred Mahan recognized the Philippines' deep-water harbors as ideal bases for projecting American naval power across the Pacific. Control of these harbors meant the U.S. could refuel, repair, and deploy its fleet far from home shores. Subic Bay and Manila Bay quickly became vital to American military strategy, serving as anchors for the U.S. presence in Asia and as launching points for future operations. With the Philippines, the United States could protect its trade routes, safeguard its interests, and assert itself as a true Pacific power, able to influence events across the region. While the grand dream of dominating China's market never fully materialized, the island's strategic value remained undeniable. The Philippines became a linchpin in America's Pacific ambitions, shaping the region's politics and economics for decades. The U.S. reshaped the Philippines' economy and society to serve its own interests, introducing new industries, educational systems, and social structures that would leave a lasting legacy on the islands. The archipelago became America's only formal colony, a forward base for global ambitions, and a symbol of the nation's new role on the world stage. In the years to come, the Philippines' importance would only grow, especially during times of conflict, as it became a critical battleground and a key asset in America's Pacific strategy. The Philippines' geography has always been its greatest military asset. Sitting at the crossroads of major sea lanes, control of the islands means control over vital maritime routes. U.S. bases at Subic Bay and Clark Air Base turned the Philippines into the linchpin of American strategy in Asia. These bases supported major operations in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, proving the island's immense military value. Even after the bases closed in the 1990s, the Philippines' strategic location remains crucial for monitoring and influencing the South China Sea. Renewed security cooperation with the U.S. reflects this enduring importance. The archipelago's military value is not just history, it's a present-day reality shaping its foreign policy. The Philippines remains a key player in regional security. In the 1930s and 40s, Japan saw the Philippines as essential to its imperial ambitions in Asia. The islands were the gateway to Southeast Asia's resources and a barrier to Japan's southern expansion. Japan needed the Philippines' agricultural lands and minerals to fuel its war machine. Militarily, the American presence in the Philippines threatened Japan's plans, making the islands a primary target. The invasion of the Philippines in 1941 was a strategic necessity for Japan's Pacific campaign. Japanese occupation was harsh, turning Filipinos against their new rulers and highlighting the archipelago's strategic curse. The Philippines was a critical piece in Japan's vision of regional dominance. Its capture was central to Japan's wartime strategy. After World War II, the Philippines became a frontline state in the Cold War. The U.S. saw the islands as a democratic anchor in a region threatened by communism. American bases at Clark and Subic became outposts in the fight against Soviet and Chinese influence. The 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty cemented the U.S.-Philippine alliance, bringing economic and military aid. This partnership propped up local governments, sometimes at the expense of democracy. The Philippines' value was now measured by its reliability as an ally and its strategic location. For decades, it was a key piece on the Cold War chessboard. The end of the Cold War didn't end the Philippines' strategic relevance. The rise of China and disputes in the South China Sea have put the archipelago back at the center of global power politics. Its proximity to contested waters gives the Philippines a natural advantage and makes it a key player in regional security. The U.S. and other allies see a strong Philippines as essential to upholding freedom of navigation and international law. New agreements allow for rotational U.S. military presence and rapid response capabilities. The Philippines now balances economic ties with China against security partnerships with the U.S., Japan, and Australia. Its choices have far-reaching implications for Indo-Pacific stability. Geography and alliances continue to define its value. For 5 centuries, the Philippines has been a prize for global powers, valued for its geography, resources, and strategic position. Each empire saw the islands as a platform for access to trade, resources, or military advantage. This legacy still shapes the nation's identity and foreign policy. In 2025, the Philippines is again at the center of great power competition, this time between the US and China. The fundamental reasons for its value remain unchanged, even as the players evolve. The long history of being valued by others has left a complex mark on the Filipino nation. The enduring question now, after centuries of being defined by outsiders, how will the Philippines define its own value in the 21st century? Its future depends on the answer.